Okay, let's get into Joyce, or J Rock as I like to call her. This is Joyce Byers, and obviously a very, very important character in shaping like the core of what Stranger Things is, at least for this side of the fence. And we have to really understand Joyce because she's a really, really unique character. I would say her dominant mindset is this hyper bonded survival mother. Like Joyce doesn't operate from curiosity or strategy or even logic. She operates from just attachment under threat. Like her psychology is anchored in her maternal fixation, and then it's amplified by this trauma. So once Will disappears, her entire personality collapses inward, and it becomes bound along this one singular objective, which is retrieval at all costs. And it's not really bravery in the traditional sense. It is an irrepressible compulsion. This is who she is. She does not decide to keep going. This is important to know about Joyce. She literally can't stop. It's not a conscious choice. This is how she is wired. And this kind of in turn really is her superpower. Her superpower is not intelligence or combat or leadership or strategy. Her superpower is that psychologically she does not accept defeat as an outcome. She's like, no. Joyce does not pivot. She doesn't reframe. She doesn't even, emotionally disengage like when you're defeated. She keeps pushing until reality is cracked. And somehow, a lot of times, in this series at least, it's shaping in her direction. She has been right. Like, this is the thing about Joy. And this makes her, like, because she operates like this, makes her really hard to work with. She is a nightmare for any type of institution. She's a problem for any type of authority figure. She's destabilizing for the forces. But she's a miracle for a kid in trouble. If you're a child and needs saving, Joyce is going to be there for you. I have no doubt. But you see that she can be an impediment. She just kind of pushes things along. But that's really what her force. She's built to drag reality back by the neck if she has to. She didn't care. Now, she has this very strong, obviously very strong, maternal bond. Now, this is both her strength and it's kind of structural damage. Like, Joyce doesn't just protect Will, she kind of emotionally fuses with him. And what this creates at the time is some security for Will. But it also comes at the cost of this, arrested emotional development. He's got this dependency that's been reinforced through this real trauma. So Will never gets to become resilient on his own timeline. Because Joyce is always kind of being his backbone, absorbing the danger for him. And this saves him, but it keeps him a lot more fragile than he really should be. If you contrast it with Jonathan, Jonathan was overexposed to responsibility early. Because, Joyce emotionally poured into Will after this heavy collapse with the father. And we'll talk about that later. And this is why Jonathan becomes like very stoic at such an early age. While Will becomes more hypersensitive, like it's the same trauma, and we're seeing two opposite adaptations to it, right? Adaptations. Now, this is interesting. Look at Joyce's role in the group, right? She is not a leader, clearly, right? She's not the tactician, clearly, but she is like this emotional engine. She's really their belief anchor. She is this panic stabilizer who is like, I will never give up, and she will not allow you to give up. So she doesn't coordinate plans, but she forces the plans to exist by refusing to emotionally halt. Like Hopper, who she forces to do this, he supplies the structure. The kids themselves, they kind of supply the adaptability. They're the ones who go out and gather the information and do all the learning parts, and then they feed this back in Hopper and Murray, and they build around them what the kids need. But like Dustin, Mike, especially Dustin and Mike. And Lucas as well, like they're all kind of pushing it. But I do like Dustin because he stays within the science realm. Like to me, he's that for them. And I think Mike still has, because of his role in the Dungeon Master, has a wider view. Anyway, we'll get back to those things, right? But the key is that without Joyce, nobody would panic fast enough. That's the truth. She starts pushing the panic button immediately. As soon as she didn't see you, she called and reported you missing. That's important. Everybody else is gonna wait like, I don't know, a day or a couple hours, whatever. Not Joyce. She's hitting the panic button immediately, right? And she pushes more aggressively. She has no fear of pushing to get this done, to get Will back. And this is extremely important. Now, she also has a method of discovering things that's unique. It's kind of this intuition that comes through her desperation. She's not a scientist, right? She's not methodical, and she still is discovering this pattern by this fixation, by this hypervigilance to everything, right? She's emotionally paying attention to every tiny little thing that's happening, trying desperately to build a real pattern out of this. So when she discovers the Christmas tree, like the lights in the Christmas tree, when she discovers this, right? This isn't because she had some moment of brilliance. It wasn't that. But she was so desperate that it sharpened her into this pattern logic. She started looking things with the mindset that she was going to accept them. She was going to accept whatever it was telling her. She was going to accept that something was talking to her. And that allowed her to focus on the little details that brought this about. So all very important, like all of her skills are still working for a positive thing, right? I will say this. And she has a strong caretaking instinct, like at her core. Even kids that aren't her, her own kids, even strangers, she's immediately empathic. She does not evaluate like your moral worth. She doesn't look at risk, long term, none of that. She's just gonna go for it. If you're small, you're vulnerable. If you're abandoned, her brain flips into this rescue mode instantly, and it's very beautiful, but it's also very reckless at the same time. Now, her core weaknesses is, there is some stuff going on there. There's some trauma before any of this stuff even happened, and you can imagine what her brain flipped into after Will initially disappeared, right? She wasn't strong before any of this. So she really suffers from she gets emotionally overinvested. She does a poor job of calculating any type of risk. She really has let her boundaries between herself and her son really erode. And she's highly susceptible to being manipulated under panic, because you put the press on her, she's going to make bad decisions. And she could be the one who actually gets the fastest burnout to all this, because she keeps her motor running so high. And she doesn't think about these things. She's purely in the moment crisis. So Joyce, it's odd. It's easy to see because she doesn't provide any stability at all. She kind of reacts to the instability with a legendary force. She doesn't generate peace, but she's able to survive storms. She doesn't design shelters, but she knows how to weather whatever's going on. So she's not like a warrior mom. She's not a commander. She's not a strategist, but she's a gravitational mother figure that everything dangerous bends towards her, and she bends it all back. So she doesn't keep the crew structurally strong or even structurally together. But she is emotionally the tie that gets everyone geared up as high as they need to be immediately. And none of it's fake, all of it's real. And she's absolutely a driving force with this. And the boys, in a lot of ways, are very lucky to have her as a mom. Like, everyone should be so lucky to have a mother go this hard for your kids. And that's what Joyce is 100% all about, is going hard in the paint.